Alright, so this will be our next video about JavaScript array methods. And in this particular video, we're going to cover a method called indexOf. So what indexOf does, it finds the position of whatever it is that you're searching for. So an example of that would be if you're trying to find which column is column sales, you would have to search through these different labels and find that sales is this column number 3, and then hopefully later on you'll use that in your code to do some logic with that column. So let's see how that actually works. So I'm going to start with our script editor. So we're getting our active spreadsheet, we're getting our active sheet, which is a tab we're on. And here, let's try to get this labels here to a range. So to do that, we'll have to start from 1 cell and go 4 columns. So that would be cell 1, and then number of rows is just 1, and number of columns is 4. So let's just log that out for now. So I'm going to run this. If you look at our logs, see it's an array of arrays, because Google Sheet structure is we have rows, and in those rows we have columns, right? In this case, we just have 1 row. So that means in our array here, we have this 1 array. So to be able to search with indexOf, you have to make sure that you have a single dimensional array. So we cannot have array within an array. And to get to this array right here, I can just get the first element inside of the big array, and that will do it. So if I do data 0 and I run this, look at the log, see now it's just an array, single dimension, no arrays within arrays. So because of this structure, now we can use indexOf. So now if I do .indexOf, and it has to be a capital O, and then whatever I'm searching for. So right now I'll be searching for text. So let's say we're searching for a column called sales, right? So we go sales. I run this. So let's look at our log. See, it says 2. So it was able to find the position. Now, one thing you have to keep in mind is that when it finds the position, it doesn't find the same way you would think in a spreadsheet. So in a spreadsheet, we would say the position is 1, 2, 3, right? But the position we found is number 2. And the reason for that is that because it's the position in the array. So let me just log the array as well here, which would be this in this case. So if I run this and look at the log, see, this is our array. So if we had to get sales in our array, we would say 0, 1, 2, because in arrays we start our position from 0, right? And that's why we're getting 2. Now let's say I'm searching for sale. So I'm going to run this, look at my logs, and the position is not found. It's going to say -1. If we do find the position, it's going to be either 0, 1, 2, or 3, right? Because 0 is the first position and so on. One more thing I want to mention here is that if I do sales, it's going to find me the position, right? However, if I search for an uppercase sales, it does not find that in our array. So this is case sensitive. indexOf is case sensitive. Now let's check a different situation. Let's try to find it in a column of values. So I'm going to just get this column to an array, and that would be column 1. So we need to start from row 2. Column 1, and the number of rows is going to be, well, 24 total, and -1 the labels. That's 23, and 1 column. So let's now log that out. to see what we get. And you see we're getting that column, and because this is a column, we're gonna see that each value in a row is in an array. So we have an array of arrays, and because of that, we won't be able to now use indexOf. And I would not also be able to do data 0 indexOf, because 0 is just gonna give me this first one, which is the first array. Now, to be able to use this, I would have to take this array and convert it to one-dimensional array. So to do that, we're going to use our map method. So I'm going to do data.map, and I'm going to use function. To this function, I'm going to pass a row, and then what I'm going to return is, well, if you remember, I basically, it's not going to let me run this. So when I run map, each iteration is going to give me one of these elements. So the first element is going to be first array, the second array, the third array. So what I want to do, I want to get what's inside of that array. So the first element in that array. And for that, I will just have to return R0. So let me uncomment this. And so if I return the first element, that should create a new array. That will be an array with no arrays in it. So let's see. So see, I just have a single dimensional array here. With that, now I can use indexOf. So now I can do new data dot indexOf. Then I have to provide what I'm searching for. So let's see, let's say we're searching for this. So now if I run this, it gives me position 1. So if I look at this, so 0, 1, it's the second element, so 0, 1. And if you remember, when I was getting the range, I started from row 2. So I got the range like this, not including the label on top. So therefore, when we search, 0, 1 is the position of that element. So now we can search in a column. Now let's search for this element. So run this. See, it gives me 2. So 0, 1, 2. Now the reason I wanted to search for this is because we can also find that same thing here and possibly later on here too, see? So it's located in multiple places. So when I search, it's only gonna find the first one. So when you do indexOf, it finds the first occurrence, and that's pretty much it. So that's indexOf. And similar to indexOf, there's also a method called lastIndexOf. And if I just do this and run, the only difference is this is gonna find it by looking from the end of the array. So if I look at the log, see, it gives me position 19. And the reason for that, it was able to find the position for the last one. And the position is still from this side, from the top, but we're finding the last element. Now, if you remember, this is case sensitive. So if I do this lowercase w and I run, look at the log, see, it's -1. I can't find the element by doing this. So how do we go about this? So very often, if you ever use match function, you will probably do the search key, which will be again that same thing. See, I'm going to do lowercase, and then you do the range, and you probably do like an exact match with a 0. and it gives you the position. And for match, it doesn't start from 0, right? It goes 1, 2, 3. So it finds the position that way. But match is not case sensitive, so I can do uppercase or lowercase. It's still gonna find that element. So that might be something you want to do in your script, but you have to keep in mind that indexOf is case sensitive. So if we wanted to make this not case sensitive, what we would have to do, well, first of all, before I get to it, let me just do something. I'm gonna make a new function here. And what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna create a variable. And then I'm gonna just log something, and what that something is going to be is if I take a string like text and then do to lowercase and I run this, it's gonna convert it to lowercase. And there's also to uppercase, which is gonna convert it to all caps. Here we go. So what if our text is a number? So what if we pass a number to this? Let's see what happens. See, we get an error because numbers don't have a method called toLowercase. So you can't do this toLowercase on a number. To get around this, what we can do this method toString on a number. And if I run this, see, it gives me that same 5. Now let's try to pass some text. And that's, see, working too. So that's a couple things to keep in mind because we might need some of this in a second here. So what I'm gonna do when I'm doing this new data, so let's just log it out again. I'm gonna run this. Let's take a look. This is our data, right? Now, the way we can search in this, because we don't want a case-sensitive search, we can either convert everything to lowercase or we can convert everything to uppercase, and then we can search in lowercase and uppercase. The way I can accomplish that, I can just return this R0 gets us the value. Now we can just take that and convert it to lowercase. As we're converting our array to a single dimensional array, we can also just convert it to lowercase. Now the problem with this is that if I do this to lowercase, it's gonna work for these, but when it gets to a number, it's gonna give me an error. So one way to get around this, we can do this toString to lowercase, and that way we'll basically just convert it to text first and then make it lowercase. The result of that is going to be, well, let's take a look. I'm gonna run this, and then let's look at our log. Now the only problem is that this 9 at this point is going to be text, not a number. If we want to keep it as a number, then we can't really do this. If we don't, then this would be fine. Now let's see what we can do if we want to keep that as a number, right? So I'm gonna just expand this a little bit. Send this to a new line so we can write some code here in this function. So what we can do an if statement to check if the value passed to us is a string. So I'm gonna do this type of. So this type of R0 will tell us whether that's a string or it's something different. So if it's a string, that should return string. If it's string, then we want to take that R0. So we're going to return that same R0 to lowercase. So we want to convert it to lowercase. And otherwise, we're going to take that R0 and return it. So if it's a number or it's a date or something, we're just going to return what it is. We're not going to change anything. So let's see what we get. I'm going to save this and run. So now see, this is a number, and you can see it does this 9.0. That's the way that you can see that this is a number, at least in the log that Google Sheets has, which is kind of weird type of log, but it works. So now this is a number, and anything else, see, converted to lowercase. Now, because I'm taking this whole column and I'm converting it to lowercase, I'm not really changing the values here. I'm just converting it in my array, and I'm gonna now search in my array. So the index of now on this new data, see, searching for lowercase, it's lowercase, it's gonna find it, right? So now everything is lowercase, so whether it's lowercase or uppercase in here, it wouldn't matter. It's gonna find it anyways. If you have a variable, I'm gonna call it search text, and you might be getting these variables from the spreadsheet, right? So maybe you get the value in the cell and you want to compare everything to that value. So what you're gonna do in that case, now the search itself has to be lowercase too. So you're gonna make sure that you take that search value and you convert that to lowercase as well before you search. So even if this is uppercase, I can convert it to lowercase, and I can search in my array that's lowercase. And there it is too. Now all of this obviously is the same if you do lastIndexOf. So finally, I'm gonna mention one more thing about indexOf, and that's where, let's make this lowercase and simplify this like this. So indexOf has a second parameter. So far we're using the first parameter. Now keep in mind that because we kept this as a number, if we actually search for number 9, this should find the position for it. But if we search for text 9, that will not find a position for it because it's not a match. If you don't care if it's text or if it's a number, then you might want to do the other way. Instead of doing this conversion, which is what I did, you might want to do this toString to lowercase to take numbers and text and convert them to text initially and then search. So, but this is kind of how match function works in spreadsheets, right? If it's not a number 9, it's not gonna match text 9, so it has to match exactly like the type, although it's not case sensitive. So the second argument for this indexOf function is the position where you want to start searching. If you don't want to start searching from your array from the beginning and you want to start searching, let's say from halfway through or something, you can also provide a starting point. So if I do 7, that will mean let's start searching from the position 7. Let me actually copy the text here. And we're going to make it lowercase because we converted it to lowercase, right? So I'm going to search for this. If I look at my log, see the position, it says 8. And what that means is that we went here 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is the position for the element we found. Now you can see how that same element exists here as well, right? But because we said 7, it's going to start searching from the position number 7. So position number 7 would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we start searching from here, and then we find this. We still return the position of the whole array, not from the search position. So that's a little bit about indexOf. So going forward, we'll be using this function a lot when we have to do something similar to like a VLOOKUP. But for right now, this should do it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.